two junk journals in two totally different styles, created simultaneously. Welcome to another episode of this little series here on my YouTube channel, in which I want to show you that you can transfer any inspiration to your own junk journal or any other papercraft project in your very own unique style. In today's episode, I want to find some spots on my junk journal pages where I can put some pockets, tuck spots, and belly bands. For that, I'm going to use a digital ephemera pack in combination with some papers from my stash. Hi there, this is Luise Heinzel. Welcome to my channel Junk Journal Art. If you have perhaps missed the previous videos of this series, please check out the info box. There's a whole playlist with all of the videos that belong to this series. And today's video could have the caption, "The struggle is real." There are many of you who have asked me in the past, below other videos, how I find out the order of the steps that I'm doing for creating a junk journal. And I've realized with recording this series how chaotic my process sometimes is. Because for this series, of course, I want to have like a logical order for you so that you can work through this series step by step. But I've realized that it's not so easy to record videos in a specific order because often my process is totally chaotic. So what I'm going to do today is the try of showing you something that you could do as well, of course, and that is, a little step for finding places where you can put things like pockets, tuck spots, and belly bands to later on store tiny ephemera in it, or letters or postcards, photos, and all of that stuff. I'm going to use parts of my Steamy Floral Smoke digital ephemera pack that you can find in my Etsy shop. The link is down below in the description box. Here on my desk, you can see I have already cut out the pockets and the tuck spots, and also some of the giant tags that come with this ephemera pack. Perhaps you're wondering why I have cut out tags if I want to make pockets and tuck spots. I will talk about that in this video in detail. And I would like to combine this digital ephemera pack with some materials, papers from my stash. For that, I'm making my life really easy because we already have matching papers here in our little booklets that we have made for finding the color palette. I have a separate video about that. You can find that in the playlist linked below this video. So in here there are papers that will match my junk journal pages for the clean journal as well as for the grungy journal. So some of you have also asked what I will do with this booklet, if that will go back into my stash or into the trash can or wherever. Of course, I will use those papers for decorating the pages, and now it's the right time to deconstruct that and see what we can use for today's idea. I think one of the biggest questions about how to make a junk journal is the following one. Do you embellish all of your pages first and then make a cover and put the pages into signatures and then the signatures into the cover? Or do you make your cover first and then the pages, put everything together and then embellish the pages? Yeah, there are several different questions about the order of constructing the journal. I think there are as many answers as there are questions about that. My answer to that question, or to those questions, is I like to have loose pages in front of me as long as it's possible. Because in this stage, I can't know how thick everything will get with the embellishments that I want to put to the pages. There can also happen some fails. Yeah, imagine I have something here and I want to experiment and I want to try something new. Then perhaps that could go wrong. If the page was in the journal already, I have nearly no chance to, I have no chance to take it out and replace it with another page. So when I have loose pages and there's something that goes wrong, I can still take the page, put that away from my pages here and take another one, or do something with that. When the page is in the journal, I have nearly no chance to change something. And also, if you use a sewing machine, for example, it's way easier to have the pages here first, and then you can take them separately to your sewing machine and sew around there. And then later on, you can put everything into the cover. If you would do that the other way around and you have all your pages in the journal and you think, stitching here would be great. Yeah, then you can't do that because you can't put the whole journal below your sewing machine, of course. But I think that what we have done to come to this stage was relatively controlled. It had a specific order that you could do step by step. The next things that we are going to do could be a little bit chaotic. I am trying my best to get that into an order for this series as well, so that you can follow along as good as possible. But please accept that the following steps could be a little bit chaotic and that it is normal that the following steps can be chaotic. I think there are only a few junk journalists in this world who have a really step-by-step way to create a junk journal. I think the most of us are doing the single steps really, really chaotic, and that is good. Because in my eyes, that way you can boost your creativity a lot and you can find a lot of new things that you can include to your journal to make it your own and unique. So let's, for example, take this pocket, and I can immediately see that it would look really great on this page here. But in this step, I will not glue that down immediately because there can be several things that I want to do that wouldn't be possible if I would glue that down now. That could be, for example, distressing the edges of the pocket, or stamping, gluing, stenciling something behind here so that it comes out from the pocket. You can also see this line here. We have talked about those strange lines that we get with the stenciling in one of the other videos, and I can already see that this is not what I want to have here. So I want to put something here later, but I want to decide about the spot where I want to put the pocket now. Yeah, and it could also happen that I think, this looks plain, even if this is the clean journal. Yeah, it can look plain, I guess. But it could also happen that I think I want to put something behind that pocket and, for example, sew around here and make something like a fake sewing. So that means you sew around here and then glue it down so that you can't see the sewing on the other page. And that, of course, is something that I can decide later. I could decide that now. I could do each pocket for itself. Yeah, I could take out some stamps or scraps or whatever, glue that down now, and then glue the pocket down, distress it, glue it down. Yeah. But for this video series, I've decided to do it a little bit differently, even if you could do it in reality, like finishing one pocket, glue it down, and it's finished. Yeah, do you know what I mean? But I want to take some paper clips today, and I want to take the paper clip and put it here to the page so that the pocket can stay in place. And then later on, I would like to show you different things that you can additionally do to make such a pocket more interesting. But in your junk journaling process, that could go in a different way. You know, do you know what I mean? You could do it totally different, of course. I think that I want to have this here, especially I like this, I don't know why, but this looks really interesting. I want to have this vellum paper behind of this pocket, like this, for example. I mean, this doesn't have to be so exactly now, because you can still change the position a little bit later. We are going to clip this here with the paper clip, and then later on we can decide about the exact position. But the good thing about the thing with the paper clips is, of course, that you still have the possibility now to look at this a little bit later. Yeah, this thing with stepping back from a project and come back to it later. With doing it like this, you have this chance and this possibility, and to, yeah, see if you like what you have chosen today, if you still like that tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, here I think I want to do something like this, but not so big. Perhaps we can do it like this. So what you can see here on the left are the papers that I have taken out from this little booklet that we have created when we found our color palette. And now I'm going to take those pieces as, yeah, some kind of a base for the single pockets and tuck spots and so on. Here on the bottom, it's relatively strange. I mean, if I would attach this here, I could use that here as a tuck spot, but perhaps we can put something on the bottom here. And I want to try out some of those smaller pockets. This one would work perhaps, but I think in this case I like this color better, because it's a little bit calmer when you look at the whole page. So let's attach this here. If I have a page where I think, ooh, nothing comes to my mind what I want to do here, I just go to the next page that perhaps speaks a little bit more to me. I think it's a good thing to hop through the pages a little bit and see what you like immediately, and then decide for that, or for doing that. Because I think sometimes there can be pages that are really, yeah, like not speaking to us, and I don't want to waste my creative time on those pages. I don't want to waste time to think too much about the things, because when something has to go somewhere, like this tuck spot, for example, in combination with this stamping and this stenciling, then I would like to enjoy that I can see that, and I want to have this here, and that is, do you know what I mean? It makes your life easier when you search for those things that are obvious. Do you know what I mean? That doesn't mean that it ends like boring, because we have prepared the pages in a way that they now can speak to us and tell us where we want to put those things. And to listen to the pages is, I think, the important thing in this stage of the process. And what I also want to say is, I really appreciate the comments that you have left below the other videos. I mean, the videos that are already published within this series. I have read so many wonderful comments about the fact that this series goes really into detail. I have thought about how to do this series a lot, and it's so wonderful to hear from you that you appreciate what I'm doing here. Sometimes when I explain something really detailed, then I sometimes have the feeling, ooh, perhaps that could be too detailed and perhaps it's not so interesting for you. But your feedback says that it is interesting for you, and that's so great for me. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of the wonderful words that you have left about this series. And I'm of course hoping that I can give you some more tips and tricks and thoughts with the future videos. This covers up this beautiful stamp that we have there in the background. Perhaps we can take this, because I like the combination of this tuck spot and this paper. And as you can see, I'm trying to layer the things that I have here to make it more interesting. Ooh, but this, look at this. This could work. If we perhaps, yeah, we could leave it blank, or if something is in here later, I mean, if we take something to put that in here, then this area wouldn't look so plain anymore. This is too big, but yeah, I like to take those things to imagine how that could look when something is tucked in here. And I think that could work. So let's take this and put that here. Oh, and we have this area here on the back of this little page. Perhaps one of those tinier pockets could fit here. That looks weird. I really like this L shape here, but I'm not totally sure if I want to do that like this. I think there's a better solution. If I can't get the idea of that in this moment, I will take the page and put it away and come back to that later. I think that's, I mean, for me, yeah, that is a really big point to, on the one hand, hop through the pages, and on the other hand, not spending too much time with thinking about something. That sounds a little bit crazy, because of course we think about the things, yeah, and we want to think about what we want to do. That's of course normal, but you can also, I think, destroy your creative flow with thinking too much about something. And it totally kills my nerves that this is so squishy. I have to take this away. Oh, that's better. Sometimes when I see junk journals, then it seems like the person who has made the journal has taken some things and thrown them to the page really randomly. It seems perhaps randomly, but if you look closer, it isn't. Do you know what I mean? If you look closer, you see that the person has made some decisions, that the person has thought about the things, and you can later on see that. But thinking too much about something can perhaps slow down your creative flow, and that's, I think, not so good. What I can see here is that I want to take this tag. So this is one of the giant tags from the STEAMY Floral Smoke Ephemera pack, and I want to put that to this paper here. And later on I want to turn that into a belly band. That's the reason why I have cut out some of those giant tags, so that I'm able to glue them or sew them here, and then I have a belly band here. And in this case, I want to back that with this paper to have another layer below this tag on the one hand, and to make it sturdier on the other hand. And I already know that I want to sew this, so I will quickly go to my sewing machine and sew around here, so that we then can attach that here with the paper clip. If you don't have a sewing machine, you could of course also glue that down. And if you want to have something like this stitched look, then you could also take a black pen, of course, and draw some faux stitching here to your tag. Here you can also see another reason for attaching this with paper clips. If you later on would probably like to punch a hole here to make this belly band look like a tag, then you could still do that, and you can decide that later. You don't have to waste your time now to think about that and come out of your flow of deciding for the spots for the pockets and tuck spots. Hope that makes sense. So let's see, what else do we have here that speaks to us? This page here, for example, kills my nerves. I have tried out a stencil that I have new in my stash. That's this one here. And I like the stencil, but I don't like that in this journal, I guess. So what could we do if we have something like this? I'm thinking about taking something and covering up a little bit of that, I mean of the stenciling. But how? I think that has to be straight. This, when only a little bit of that is peeking out here, I like that, but I don't like this torn edge so much. So let's perhaps do a similar thing like we've done before. Yeah, that's a good size, I guess. I mean, a good width. But I want to trim this down here with my paper trimmer, because this paper is really sturdy, so I can use only one layer to make this possible, because I don't want to have the whole thing too bulky, of course. So let's take this, and I want to have a little bit of like a color or texture variation here. Perhaps we could take a piece of this. This is some vellum that I have embossed with an embossing folder. Oh, we could perhaps, oh, what if we take this and like wrap it around this thing? But then it probably gets relatively bulky and we won't see this. I mean, that would be wasted material. That's not good. That's not so good. I will I will position this approximately in the middle, because I like to have this pattern in the middle of this belly band, and then I will trim this down so that I have the size, the width of this white paper here. I think that's better. So then we have that, and now I think the stenciling looks way better, and you can see I'm covering up my stamping here. This is also something that I don't like. The stamping on top of the stenciling looks absolutely not good for this clean journal. I like it better when the stamping is next to the stenciling, like here. And here we only have the stamping, no stenciling, but I want to cover that up. And that's also something I think that you have to learn if you have never made a junk journal before. Or if you perhaps want to try new things. This is wonky. Holy crap, I have to trim it a little bit more. That's totally wonky. I don't want to have that so wonky because this is the clean journal, of course. But what I'm trying to say is, I think it's a process that you learn, that you sometimes cover up things that you have already done. Like here, for example, I'm covering up the stamping, but I have no problem with that. But I think that's a thing that you have to learn somehow, that is normal and that could happen. This is totally great. I think that looks really good here, but the pocket is a little bit too wide to fit onto this belly band. So I will trim the pocket down as well so that it gets the width of this, or perhaps a tiny little bit smaller. That could look great as well. Okay, so now it has exactly the width of the belly band. That's coincidence, but I like it. So I haven't measured anything, but I don't like to measure. Of course, you can measure if you want. So let's put this here. Like this, that it can't fall apart, and then I will attach it here to the page. And what we've done in the clean journal, of course, is possible in the grungy journal as well. You can do that in any journal that you want, in any style that you want to achieve, of course. So let's see if we can find some spots in the grungy journal as well. This page speaks a lot to me. So let's see, perhaps we can take, ooh, yes. Look, that's exactly what I mean. I have taken the first pocket that was laying here on the desk, and I take it and I think, okay, this speaks to me, this is gorgeous, this has to go here. Now I can decide if I want to put something behind there, if that is necessary. So I am taking the pages, not the pages, the papers from the other paper pad that we've made. So that are the pages that were within this color palette in this little paper pad. And I think perhaps, what about this? That could be good. That could be really good. Yeah. What do you think about this? I really like that. And here I can see a little like technical problem. I want to have this like here, a little bit more to the left, like so. But when I now take this and put that behind of the pocket, and I would cut it here in the line with the page, then this space here would be relatively small, and the edge of the paper, of this paper, would be really close to the edge of this, and if I glue that down there, I could later have some problems with flipping the page. I don't like that when things are glued down really close to the left side of such a page where the other page comes from here then. I don't know if you can understand what I mean, so let me show you. For example, this would be in here like this, and this would be the page that comes before this page comes. If I now would glue something really close to this edge and I flip this, that could make some really strange noises because this is rubbing over this edge here. So that means that I would like to find a way to take this and not cut that down here so that we don't get this strange edge there that could hinder the other page to flip smoothly. But what we can do is we could take this and fold that around just like this. Then this grungy packaging paper would go around this edge here, we wouldn't have the problem with the flipping, and we would have something interesting here on the other side as well. I mean, this is coincidence, but this looks great, doesn't it? I mean, we could glue it here and here, and we would have a tuck spot here, and we could still decide if we want to attach that completely, or if we would use that as another page to be able to flip this open like this, because this looks interesting as well. We can still later decide that. So I will do it like this. I will take this whole thing to make my life easier, and I will take a paper clip and just clip it here like this, so that I know that this belongs together and that I later on can decide what exactly to do with this. Okay, so what else do we have? When I have taken apart this booklet from the color palette, I saw that this was on top of each other, approximately like this, or perhaps like this. And I thought that is a really great combination. That's also, of course, a way to find possibilities for pockets or tuck spots. This will probably end like a giant pocket because it's so big. It opens relatively wide, as you can see. But when you go through the things that you have, you can, of course, find things that match each other by coincidence. Ooh, look at that. That is the right place for this. Hopefully you can agree. But it's not important that you agree, because the important thing is that you can have such moments with your own journal. Yeah, that is the really important thing, that you can see those things in your own journals and that you think, okay, that is just perfect. I will do it exactly like that. And this is also really gorgeous, isn't it? This could be really great here, but I want to have, sometimes I have to laugh about myself. I want to have something on top here, I guess. That is too small. What else do we have here? Another possibility would be to glue the pocket down here and later on turn that into a journaling card, so that we could take that out and see the whole pattern of this. I think that's not so bad. Yep, let's do that. Let's just, ooh, what is that? Let's just clip this here. I guess we have talked about especially this page in one of the other videos as well. And I want to find a solution for this here. I have told you about that, I guess, in one of the other videos. We had the stamping here that looks really like finished and good. We have this stenciling here, but here we have this strange area that looks not so nice. And I want to show you what we could do with that. We could take just a piece of something. This is probably a little bit small. Perhaps we can also take such a tag and cover that up on the one hand and turn it into a tuck spot or something similar at the same time. But I don't know if I want to use this color or this. Another possibility would be to make a mix. Perhaps this here and one of those smaller pockets here, but then the stamping would be destroyed here, and I don't like that. If I want to do that, I think I want to cut that down a little bit, but I don't like it. I don't like it. What about this one? Or yeah, that's a crazy thing. I said I want to show you what to do with this, but this doesn't speak to me. It doesn't really speak to me. I like this, I guess, better than the turquoise one. So here we would have the same problem with this edge and gluing or sewing something to the very edge here. So let's find another solution for that. And the solution could be the same as with the other page. I will just fold this tag in half. Just like this. So that it gets slimmer, and then we can decide about the direction. We could do it like this, or the other way around. Like this. I think I like this better, but it's still a little bit boring, and this is the grungy journal. I mean, yeah. What about this lace here? Yeah. Can you see that? That is the solution. We will attach both of these later somehow, and then we will wrap that around this page. And here on the other side, yeah, we would cover up this stenciling here. But for that, we could also find a solution, I think. So let's just clip this here and see how we could solve this. A really easy solution would be to just fold this here a little bit. Later on, I will probably distress this because this is white, looks not so grungy. But that could be a solution, and then we could perhaps also put something else here to make another layer. And because this is covering up this as well now, we could also just fold this like so, perhaps. I'm not totally sure if this will stay here like it is. I'm a little bit confused about that. That looks a little bit strange, but we will see. We can still decide that later. And that's also a good thing about those paper clips. I mean, you can have that now here. You can think, okay, I like the one page, the other one I'm not sure about, but I can decide that later, and I don't have to stress myself with things like that now. Oh, that could be great. That could be great. But we can't see the butterfly so good, can we? That's because of the pattern that is on this paper, but I like the fact that this is translucent and I want to search for a lighter page where we can see the butterfly better. Perhaps here. Perhaps here. This page is still relatively naked here. That's the reason why it doesn't speak to me so loud, but it tells me no matter what I want to put here, I have to do something additionally to this page to make it look not so plain. Yeah, so that can also be a help for your process, because when I put this here now, I have a starting point. I know that this can't stay like it is, otherwise I would be not satisfied with the page if this stays wide. But this can help to give you new ideas for what you want to do with this page, of course. And to clip this down here now can help, of course, for finding ideas for that problem. Perhaps I've also taken out a CD sleeve that I already have coffee dyed. I have one that is coffee dyed for the grungy journal and one that is like it came out from the package when I bought it for the clean journal. Of course, you can use those things for making pockets as well. And I just thought this is a really good combination, but this is probably a little bit big for the braille paper, isn't it? Yeah, it's too big. But I think we can find another spot for the CD sleeve, even if it looks really gorgeous on the braille paper. But let's see. I also like it here somehow. Yeah, why not? Why not? Let's put that here. And what I also have taken out is this little guy here. This is a package from some guitar strings. I have chosen this. This is also like a pocket for the grungy journal, and for the clean journal I have taken out such a glycine envelope because I thought, yeah, this is clean and this is grungy. And that's of course also something that you could search for in your stash. Something that already is a pocket. Oh, this looks so great, but it's too long here. Yeah, search for something that already is a pocket, like envelopes or yeah, something like this, and then just use that as it is. No. Where do you want to go? Those pages are too small. Where do you want to go? Perhaps here, but with something on the bottom that has this color. No, definitely not. I think I want to have something that, oh, we could also, if this was the middle of a signature, then it could make totally sense to leave this here and have the same color variation here. Put this thing here and make a tuck spot here on the other side. Just like this. Then the page would make sense. And even if this was not the middle of a signature, you have the feeling that it's cohesive when you later on flip through the journal and you see first this page and then this one. I think that makes sense. Let's do it like that. So I will clip this here. And I will now go on with exactly the same method with the other pages and with the rest of the pockets and that stuff, those papers that I have here. And in the end, I will show you how that looks. I will also do some of those with talking for my German video. So if you want to see in like real time how I do that, and if you want to see some more ideas how you could do this, then you can also of course watch my German video. Even if you don't understand anything what I'm saying there, perhaps you want to watch how I do this for the other pages. So here I'm back. Everything that I have left over from my printable is this. I'm really happy about that. I could find many places where I want to put my pockets and tuck spots and belly bands. On the clean side of the project, we have this left over from the color palette paper pad, and on the grungy side of the project, we have this left over. But I don't care about those things, yeah? There's no necessity to put everything to the pages in this stage, of course. And I can still use those scraps and leftover papers for collaging or other steps that I want to do in the future. I want to quickly go through the pages so that you can see what I have done without you as my little homework here. And I want to discuss something while I'm flipping through here that I want to bring to your mind. Because for this, there are, of course, several different ways to do this. Because I thought perhaps you could think, I have seen people on YouTube, for example, who also make tutorials, who create all of those embellishments separately. There are many tutorials out there, for example, those ephemera embellishment mask making tutorials, where the people take their materials and then they sew or glue together the tuck spots, the pockets, and all of that stuff. For example, they make a bunch of something like this. Put that aside and make a bunch of something like this, yeah, but without having the pages at hand. And of course, that is also a possibility to go through such a process. You could take those elements that you have chosen for your pocket and glue or sew them together without having the page next to you. That is a possibility. And you have to find your own way of doing that, of course. This, what I'm showing here, is only one way of managing this thing to find the spots for the tuck spots and pockets and so on. But I want to say why this is easier for me with having the pages on my desk at the same time, like I have those pockets and that stuff, because when I do it like this, I can see the whole thing. I can see if, especially when I flip through it now, if the whole thing is cohesive. Yeah, even if the pages are still loose and we have no signatures yet, I can see if this is cohesive or not, and if I want to change something. If I would make my pockets and belly bands and that stuff separately, I for me, it would be a problem to see if that is what I want to do. Yeah, so let's take the grungy journal next. If I would have this loose, for example, then for me it would be really difficult to decide if it fits to the journal or not. If I can see the background and see what's going on around here, it's way easier for me. But the other way, making those things separately, of course, is a way that you can go as well. And what I also like about this method is, if you, for example, have something, let's take this page as an example, and you think, okay, ledger paper in combination with the printable on this background is perfect for this journal. That's an example. Then you could think, okay, I want to have more things that have exactly the same combination during my journal that can make a journal cohesive as well. That's a little trick, to take the same papers and make different shapes of tuck spots, pockets, and belly bands. And this way you have the chance to do that. Yeah, you can think, okay, I like that so much that I want to have more of that in my journal. Then you also can think, okay, I have something that I don't like. This is a bad example because I like this really much. But if you don't like this, please imagine you don't like this, then you can still take that out and instead of this, put more of this style to your pages. In this series, we talk about how to bring your style to your junk journal or other papercraft project. And I thought to talk about that, you have to know what is your style. I thought that is necessary, but then I came to the idea that it is not necessary to know what your style is. Tim Holtz has said, your style is now. When I heard that sentence in one of his videos, it was like an eye-opener for me. Because especially with junk journaling, you don't have the same materials for every journal, of course. You want to try out different things, different techniques. You want to work with different materials, different papers. And I think for that, this sentence, your style is now, is very important. Sometimes when I post things to Instagram or Facebook or also on YouTube, you write, when I saw the project, I knew that you have made it. It is totally your style and your style is recognizable. But is that really important for me? When we post to social media or somewhere else where other people can see that, it is of course really nice to hear that is Louise, that is your style, that is really nice. But is it really important that I know that for myself, or can that also hinder me to find new things that I want to try out? I thought about that really intensively, and I think junk journaling is really much experimenting and trying out new things, and then finding those things that make you happy and that make you satisfied after finishing a journal. And for that, I think it's not so important that you know what your style is. That might sound a little bit strange because so many people want to find their own style. But in the meantime, I came to the idea that is not important. My style can be this today and something totally different tomorrow. The only important thing is that I'm happy with that and that I like what I'm doing here. And if there are several things that I want to keep for myself and that I want to do in every single journal, yeah, that's totally fine. Why not? Yeah, if I think in every of my journals I want to have a tag that is turned into a belly band, then please do that. Yeah, if I think, ooh, this stamping here with the acrylic plates that we have done here, I like that so much that I want to do that in every single of my journals, then please do that. And then that, of course, can make your journals recognizable as yours for others. But if that is important, I don't know. I don't know if it's really so, I mean, if it's worth to take time to think about that. I mean, why not taking the time instead of thinking about that for making more journals and having more fun on our desks? So please don't think about those things too much, but instead of that, play with your papers and have fun with your journals. I hope you could take some tips and tricks from this. If you have any questions, then please leave a comment. I will do my best to answer your questions, and I hope we will see the next time. Have a very great and creative day. See you.